please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Zoom In with Ginny Panur. Hi, everyone. I'm Ginny Schuster, and I am here with Phil Mershon today. I met him through LinkedIn, and fabulous person. I'm so happy that we connected. He owns the business Return on Initiative.
Right.
And I love the name of it. And so I connected with him because my concern was I need to get out there and do more marketing. Well, it's hard to know exactly how to market, but in today's world, you've got to mass produce on social media is what my thinking was. So that was how I connected with him. And lo and behold, his business is in Phoenix, Arizona. He's since moved, which he told me about. But Phil, great to have you here. I would love to hear your story and how some of the fears that you overcame. That's what we're going to discuss today.
Well, Ginny, thank you very, very much for having me. I'm delighted to be talking with you today.
Thank you.
And fears.
So how did you, Phoenix?
We had some fears. I should tell you that I tend to answer yes, no questions with 100-word stories. So just to let you know, yeah, we had some fears. When I started out, which was in 2010, and like you said, in Phoenix, we needed to generate income rather quickly. I mean, we were a brand new business and did not really know exactly what we were going to do, what we were going to kind of follow the circumstances where they took us. And where they took us initially was in developing websites for our customers. And there were a couple of problems with that. One, neither my then wife or I had ever built a website before.
Minor detail.
It was something to consider. It was on the to-do list. Learn to build a website. Make websites pretty. And
one morning we will wake up and we will be pros at this, honey.
That's right. A positive affirmation. I know how to make a website. Of course I do.
That's all it takes to get into business, isn't it?
That's it. That and the courage of the masses. But yeah, so we built websites, and we were scared to death because there's one of the things that any small business is going to face at some point is you've got to get paid. And that's
minor detail, right? How else are you going to make it in life?
You send them a bill, they pay you. Everybody's happy. Well, right. No, not at all. Do you wait until the service has been rendered to pay? Do you request payment up front? Oh my God, if I ask them for money up front, they're not going to like me, and then they won't want to do business with me, and all these myths that you have to overcome because of a lack of self-confidence.
Right. Yeah, because you're just starting out.
And you don't want, and you're scared that your fear is going to show, because nobody wants to do business with somebody who's hungry.
They don't. Yeah.
So, and we weren't quite hungry, but we were afraid we were going to be. So we're calling people, and they're saying yes, and we're figuring out on the job how to make these websites, and we did, and they were not to be immodest, they were pretty darn good. They were better than we had any right to expect at that time. I mean,
so Phil, was your background in art, or because when I look at some of the websites, there's a certain amount of artistic ability in them.
You're very kind. Thank you. The ones that you're seeing are not the ones from 12 years ago. Yeah. No, to answer your question, no. My background is in the written word. I have a master's degree in English and sociology. Two great career choices, if you're a young kid out there and you want to make $1 million, I'm not sure those are the two fields you want to go into, but
No, I think I agree with you.
but the funny thing about it, though, I mean, it's a circuitous path. It's not certainly not a direct path, but you do learn how to think. If you didn't know how to think before, you learn that kind of an education, and many other kinds, including, you know, the hard knocks of the world, will teach you how to think. And what I mean by that is that you have to be good at listening and processing what you hear, and understanding that what somebody is telling you and what they really mean may not necessarily be the same thing, but they will hold you accountable for what they mean, not what they said.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to engage the person and look them in the eye and have a real dialogue, not one where you're trying to manipulate the person into doing business with you, but the exact opposite of that, where you actually talk to the person because you find them interesting. And you find something in that person in the first couple of minutes that you're able, and it's not acting, it's got to be real, that you find interesting enough to have a conversation about. You ask them about their family, you ask them about their kids, not because you're trying to manipulate them, but just because you're a nice person and you're trying to get that out of them. You're trying to get to that nice person part of them. And once you do that, then business may transact, it may not. More often than not, it will, because eventually the person you're talking to is going to scratch his head and say, I don't think you just called up to ask me about my kids. What was it you wanted? and and so there was that. And it took us longer than it takes a lot of people to accomplish the same thing. But the difference was that once you become a client of ours, you typically stay a client of ours. We don't have to go back and motivate you to come back next month. You stay motivated because, well, we continue to have nice conversations. And we like to think that if we know about what motivates you as a human being, then we know a little bit more than the other guy will about what motivates you as a business person.
Yep.
What do you really want to get? But you were
Now
asking
that's tough, because don't a lot of people think they know what they want, but they don't necessarily know how to either communicate it, or they're not really clear.
100% correct. If I have kind of a mental sentence that I go by, which is, if it takes somebody more than 30 words to tell you what their occupation is, they don't know what their occupation is.
Uh-oh.
And
Uh-oh.
well, you know, because it can change. And I mean, that doesn't mean that that's not necessarily a bad thing. That may mean that the person is in a transitory position. Well, you know, I used to work at Charles Schwab, and then I realized that I could do the things that Charles Schwab is doing, but I could do it more efficiently and more effectively. And I've just asked them what they do for a living, and I've gotten that story.
Yeah.
I still don't know what they do, but they're kind of figuring it out too. Well, okay, that's still an answer.
Right.
It means we need to fine tune that a little bit. And maybe the answer is, when you know, call us back. Here's my number, please. I'd love to hear from you. But right now, I'm not going to take your money because you don't know what you're doing.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
It happens, you know.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly honest, we're in a fortunate position to be able to afford to do that. In the early days, you know, you fish with hot dogs, as a friend of mine said. Yeah, we're doing really terrific right now. We have over 24,000 and change clients on the books as I sit here.
Wow, that's terrific.
We started out. Can I tell you how we started out? How we got our?
I'm eager to hear. Yes.
Okay, so it was my then wife, Lisa Ann, had been working for some horrible call center, selling, I don't remember what, something nobody needed. And
that's what they usually are.
Yeah. It's light bulbs that glow in the dark or something.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, she came home one evening and she said, I quit. I'm done. I'm not going back there. I said, oh, that's too bad.
You're right. Yeah.
That second income sure was helpful. And
And what were you doing at the time? Had you already started this business?
I had a pension from American Express. I had not started this business. I had worked at American Express for a number of years. And funny enough, right where the Charles Schwab building now is. Anyway, yeah, so I was freelance writing. I was freelance writing at the time. And so my income was terrific when it happened. It was sporadic though, unfortunately. And her income really made a difference. So I said, well, what do you think we ought to do? And she said, here's what we're going to do, pal.
I love it.
He said, this is what do you see this stack of papers in my hand here? And I said, yeah, what is that? She said, well, sit down because I've got a story. And what she said was that we're going to start our own business. But the difference is, unlike the company she had quit, we're going to actually do what we say we do. And what we're going to do is we're going to build websites for businesses, e-commerce websites, and we're going to really build them, not just say we are. And I said, well, that seems like a good idea, doing what you say you're going to do. That's cool. Where are we going to get these customers from? There's, nobody's coming by and knocking on the door.
I'm looking out the window. I don't hear the doorbell ringing.
Come on, why not? Come on in.
Yeah. Maybe put up a plaque. Maybe glow in the dark.
Glow in the dark.
Yeah.
This light bulb could be your future.
Yeah.
So what we did was, she had this stack of papers, and on every sheet of those papers, there had to be 1,000 sheets. On every sheet of it, there was about 20 names and email addresses and telephone numbers. And I said, where did you get those? And who are those people? And she said, well, what these are people, these are our leads from the office that I don't work at anymore.
Yeah.
Where did you get them?
And they did not see me walk out with this stack of papers at all. So
it was worse than that.
I'm clear.
She, there was a homeless guy sniffing around the dumpster where they had discarded that stack of leads that I was telling you about. And Lisa Ann was not going to crawl into a dumpster. She was kind of a foo-foo gal. She was not going to get her fingernails dirty, hair messed, nothing. So she gives this guy, she says, I'll give you $100 if you go into that dumpster and bring me out that stack of papers like this. The guy says, for $100, I'll bring you the whole dumpster, whatever you want. And he came in, got it out. She put him in the back of the car. She brought him to the house. And now we had, I don't know, about 100,000 leads.
Wow.
Phone numbers, about half of which were no good, but the other half were. And again, keep in mind, this was 12 years ago. So I don't know what I'm doing. So I just pick up the phone and I dial the first number, and I do like a real George Costanza bonehead thing. Yeah. Hey, buddy, you want to buy a website? What do you mean? No. Are you kidding me? Yeah. But it got refined over time. And I began to find out that almost everybody I talked to had been burned. They were on this list, right?
Yeah.
So if I had that list, so did 300 other guys. The difference was these other 300 people were, for the most part, scammers. Taking advantage of, they're doing really one of the worst things that you can do, in my opinion, which is to take advantage of a person's hard work and initiative and hopes and aspirations for themselves and their family, just to make a few lousy dollars. And that was despicable. And that was why Lisa had quit the job. And in the first place was when she realized that she was working for those kinds of people. So we would have their websites built in like 72 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. And I say all of that to say this, that we made these beautiful websites, and man, we were proud, and we were getting nice emails back from people saying, we never really expected you to do this, but you did, and you did it quick. And thanks. And my cousin Irving owns a laundromat. Could you make one for him too? Yes, we could. Be happy to do that. So before we even got halfway through this list, it's about 6 months on. Yeah, about 6 months. And the phone starts ringing from some existing customers and they say, love the website, got a problem. Nobody knows my website's out there.
Oh,
It's a thing of beauty. It's better than I expected. And nobody has ever seen it but me. And it's like, well, that's a really interesting question, huh? Well, we're going to think about that, sir. And I'll get back to you. Click, boom, phone rings again. Another person, similar question. How do I get traffic? And this seems like a really obvious thing now. But 12 years ago, that was not obvious. 12 years ago, we were in kind of the second phase of an internet growth. And there were a lot of people out there who had a lot of websites. Many people had dozens of websites just sitting there taking up internet space.
yeah.
So how in the world do you get somebody to come and look at the beautiful work that you've done? Today, we occasionally build a website. It happens.
Yeah.
Very seldom. Most people already have something.
They're not always happy with them, but
Yes, correct. And we absolutely are thrilled to advise people on, certain inexpensive, if not free, things that can be done to fix it. Because the democratization of the internet is a really important thing to me. I want people of whatever economic situation to be able to compete fairly with anybody else so that the best ideas typically will win out. Not just the best ideas. Sometimes it's the people with the most lightning coming out of their butts. Sometimes it's the people who are just pleasant,
yeah.
Who you connect with and do well and who have a terrific idea. But I want everybody to at least have an even shot at it. And this is the part that used to just still drives my staff completely bonkers. I can't say this very loud. We have not raised
But
our
I am
rates.
recording you just so you remember, Phil.
Understood.
I won't let the word out, but you may.
Fair enough. We haven't raised our prices since the first day.
Oh, wow.
12 years ago. Have not raised our prices. Still do not go back to our existing customers and look for opportunities to upsell them on garbage that they don't need ever. It's not part of our process. It's not what we do. There are people who do that, and God bless them. But those people who do that, they're going to spend more time chasing that and wasting money doing that and time in their lives doing that than if they would just go on to the next name on their list, wherever it comes from, garbage bin or wherever.
Yeah.
We hope not. But,
yeah.
in any event. So yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of that fact, because when I tell people what we charge, usually get, if it's on the phone and I can't see them, I know they're scratching their heads. No. The last guy told me that it was going to cost $3,000 to do half of what you say you're going to do. Yeah, well, do you have his number? Maybe that's who you should do business with.
Yeah.
Because we don't. We will post for you, as you know, Ginny.
I do.
We will post for you 18 times every day of the week. We take Saturdays off because we're getting lazy.
Oh my.
But 6 days a week, we will post 18 times every day across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Not 18 times on each of those, but a total of 18 across that.
Yes.
6 days a week. Then once a month, we will make sure that your website we will initiate the process of indexing your website through 776 search engines and internet directories, so that no matter where your website, your beautiful website is, people will be able to find it. And wait, don't buy yet, because there's a little bit more. We
Price is going up, folks.
That's right. We create what are called backlinks.
And most people don't know what that is. I certainly didn't before I talked to you.
A backlink is a really important thing. It is a link on somebody else's, some other business's website. But if you click on it on someone else's site, it will redirect them to your site, which is very nice, because it's an indication that that person whose site your link appears on trusts you, or else they wouldn't have it there.
Right.
But because we have built, I don't know how many websites, several thousand over the years, not so much anymore, but they're still out there. We use the opportunity of those websites as a way of putting backlinks to your website on those sites on your behalf. And the reason that is important is less because somebody's going to click on it and decide that you were just what they were looking for, but because Google sees it that way.
Oh.
Google looks at the existence, the quality, and the quantity of backlinks to you as being an indication that you are relevant to their visitors' searching patterns. And so they will reward you for having good backlinks by elevating your position on the Google search engine results page. It accounts for slightly more than 1/5 of the thinking, if you want to call it that Google engages in when it's deciding where to place your website relative to somebody else's.
I like that. I had to write that down. Are you relevant? Basically.
And that is always really the struggle. I mean, in your personal life as well as in your business life, you always want to remain relevant, I think. And it's a little bit harder, I think, now. I don't know that I would want to be a young person today, because I think with 60 years ahead of me, I think I would be intimidated by the prospects of which, the speed with which technology is
changing instantly. Yeah.
Accelerating. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Stuff that we all take for granted, the cell phone, the fact that we're able to have this conversation virtually here, and save it and record it and place it wherever you like. And anyway, it's amazing. 12 years ago, when we started, it was, we were trying to figure out how much social media posting is the right amount. What were our competitors doing? Then, as now, what you find a lot of people doing is they'll post maybe 3 times a week for you.
Well, with all the uptick in the amount of people who are on social media, 3 times a week cannot be enough in my head. So, and that was one thing that drew me to you when you said 18 times a day. Wow. I'm going, I've heard there are certain times of the day, of the week, that you should be posting. Well, if everybody's getting that input, doesn't that sink mine down even lower?
Absolutely right. That's brilliant. What you just said is absolutely brilliant. And that's absolutely correct. And that's funny enough, it's a concept that seems to elude some people. I knew you caught it immediately. I could tell by your reaction, but yeah, I mean, when I tell people 18, they think, well, no, not 18. I said, well, yeah, because 17 is not enough and 19 is overkill. And
wait a minute, Phil. All right.
I'm sort of joking.
Bring that up in the middle of the night.
The number, that number 18, it's not completely arbitrary, but I will tell you, it has changed over the years. 6 years ago, we were posting, I think it was 12 times every day. And that seemed to be sufficient. But it's just as more and more people were catching on to the competitive, and the essential nature of the work, two things changed. We had to post more frequently, and the quality of our posts had to go way, way up. There was a time when it was good enough to put a link to your website, some really clever words, some hashtags, and the picture of you with your dog, and or whatever.
Yep. That's what I put in the newspaper.
Right.
When there were newspapers.
Right. That's not enough anymore. It may be okay once in a while, but no. Now there needs to be graphic design components to what you're doing. There needs to be thought, because 88% of what a person is gleaning from a social media post is just the picture. Does this picture convey, or this piece of art or whatever it might be, this image, does it convey what you are all about? And more to the point, does it tell me as a potential consumer of yours, is it telling me that I need to look further, or is it just a pretty picture?
Yes. Yeah.
And it needs to be a pretty picture. It needs to have some sort of beauty to it. But there needs to be an underlying theme that most people would be able to respond to, or identify and respond to. I'm telling you more than you need to know, but I'm just saying that it went from, 6 years ago, last week, being kind of we never automated our processes, but we could have. Today, no. Anybody I'm sorry, I hope I'm not making anybody angry when I say this, but if you're using an automated service, you could be doing better for yourself. Because
so you do not do automated when you post those?
No, we do not. Those are real live human beings. And you might want to buckle your seatbelt when I tell you this, right here in the United States.
Wow.
And
that's unusual.
Isn't it though? And believe me, and if I start to tell you way more than could possibly be interesting, I invite you to interrupt me.
Well, I'm fascinated, and I hope our audience is too.
I hope
because
so.
This is kind of make it or break it in business anymore. There's so much that's online. Yes, you've got your local chamber of commerce and all your networking that's local. Well, that might be good for chiropractors, lawyers, your local businessman. But an awful lot of business nowadays is spread out globally. It's not just the United States. So all this stuff is important for people to realize and understand the depth that you've gone into here and studied so that it can be effective for them.
I think it's really important. We were talking before about, can you describe your job in 25 to 30?
Yeah.
For most people, if you give them enough time, they can do that. And if you ask the right questions and you do care enough about what matters to them to get the answers, you find that in a lot of cases, what they can do here cannot quite be replicated by other people. If you're passionate about what you do, there might be a reasonable facsimile of what you do that's a little bit less expensive, but it's not going to convey the passion and the creative impulses and the uniqueness that is you.
Right.
That's not going to come from somebody else.
Right.
So I'm not being jingoistic when I say that. I'm not talking about people in the Philippines or anywhere else. I'm saying you versus your neighbor, or you versus the person across town or in another state. I did not have this prearranged. You'll just have to take my word for that.
No, that's what I keep hearing also, that if it doesn't come from the heart, people can read right through you. So you better find out exactly what it is that you love doing, or you're not going to have any customers because you're so busy trying to figure out what to say that you're not listening to what their needs are.
How are you going to keep a staff if you don't love what you're doing? If you don't wake up every morning and as your feet are touching the floor for the first time that day, if you're falling anything short of this, it's a shame. There needs to be electricity going through you. You need to have a half a dozen ideas before you pull your sorry self out of bed. And you give your person a big old kiss and you say, baby, you just sleep in. I got some things I got to do before I forget to do them. And you run off and you put on the coffee. And while you're doing that, you're getting dressed while you're making the coffee, and you got over here and you've got your little notepad and you're writing down ideas, and you're wondering if everybody showed up for work today. Probably not. Okay, let's find out. Boom. And but you're exuding this almost manic state, not really manic, but kind of in a positive sense.
Right.
And staff is going to feed off of that. Whether it's one person or it's 30.
Yep.
They're going to come to work and they're going to say, gee, boss, we don't charge nearly enough for our stuff, but you know what? We sure do got a lot of customers. And
and we're making a lot of people very happy.
Yes. And we don't get people calling up complaining about stuff. I've never worked any place where people call up to tell us thanks. And or a customer calls up and says, you know, I had this idea, and somebody listens instead of saying, I'm sorry, we don't do that. This is not McDonald's. I got a stack of applications on my desk for McDonald's.
Yeah, what we give you.
Yeah, if you're not happy here.
Wendy's is down the street.
There you go. But never had to use those yet. Anyway.
So how did you make money? Shall we get back to that and figure out, because you mentioned in the beginning about you connected, you had all these people who wanted a website, they were happy, and Johnny wanted one, and all these other people. How did you get over that concern about asking for money? And did you do it up front? You know, what kind of revelation did you go through? Because money is so hard for people to talk about, but until you get comfortable talking about your rates, you can't make money because it sets you ill at ease.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. I was very self-conscious about asking for it, but I had a wife who had a really sharp fingernail, and she would stand behind me and no, you ask, you get that up front. Come on. Okay. I'm getting it. So what we're going to need, sir, is, and I was very timid. And so you get the payment up front. If it's a service that you're going to be providing, or if you're going to be out time or money at all, if you have to buy the product that you're reselling or whatever it might be, you need to collect up front, not because you're being greedy, but as sort of an insurance policy.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who isn't nervous about doing that.
Yeah.
Not just on day one either, but most of the time. I no longer let it bother me, but I mean, that's because we're in the lucky position of, if they turn you down, that's okay. We'll be fine. But if you're starting out, you probably are going to be nervous, and you're going to want to appease the person. And what they're going to hear.
You want customers.
But what that customer is actually hearing is, this guy doesn't place much value on what he's doing or what she's doing.
Ooh, right.
And so consequently, if you do them a favor by letting it go 30 days, then, because they're here in town and I know them, I mean, I see them. No. The closer you are to this person, the more you need to get that money up front.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because you don't want to have something ruin that friendship or relationship or whatever it is. And if it's somebody you've never even heard before, same thing, get paid up front. And they're not going to tell you no. They're going to say, and it's going to surprise you the first 3,000 times it happens. 3,001, you're like, okay, I finally got it. But the first 3,000, honey, I can't believe he's doing it.
I don't need that finger in my shoulder anymore, honey.
There's a hole there where that finger used to be. So yeah, but you do have to, because what else have you got? What and here's the other side of this. There's this real ugly side that you got to be protecting yourself on: chargebacks. I know that's a scary topic, and I'm not sure if you know what I'm referring to, but
No, tell me about
a
chargebacks.
chargeback is the bane of any small business entrepreneur, or middle-sized business for that matter. Okay, so a chargeback happens when a person disputes a charge that they have made.
Oh, okay, right.
They call up their bank or their credit card company and say, I don't know what this is. Well, some of those are absolutely legitimate. No two ways about it. People make mistakes. People sometimes don't get what they're told they're going to get, and they have absolute right to dispute that charge. However, if you as a business person have legitimately provided the service that you have contracted to do, and knowing you've probably done more than you've contracted to do. You've probably over motivated them, tried to make them happy. That's what we try to do too.
Yep.
And then you get a little notice from your payment processor that says, we've just deducted $25 from your account because that's how much we charge for every dispute. Plus, we've deducted the cost of this service that they'd like to have supporting documentation showing that it was actually a legitimate charge or not. The reason I mention this is you as a business person are probably going to lose.
Yeah.
You can't lose. You can't afford to lose. Your first 2 years in this, if you get very many charges, if you get half a dozen chargebacks, you're done. You're done. You just might as well just give up. But if you don't want to give up and you want to protect yourself before the first one happens, because you'll never see it coming, ever. Because when it comes, it'll come from your favorite customer. Will be the one who does it. Because it's not legitimate. In most cases, it's really not.
So how can you fight that? Can you call them up and find out what the concern was and work with them?
First thing you do is exactly that. And I mean, as soon as it pops up in your inbox, you're on the phone.
Yeah.
But before you make that phone call, you make sure that you have all of your little ducks, right?
Yes.
Agnes, can you bring me the contract for Mr. Johnston? Because, of course, when you got that payment up front, you also went through DocuSign or some other service where the person signed something acknowledging that you were going to charge them X amount of dollars for this service that you will in fact provide. You have their signature on file. If you don't have their signature on file, then you should probably start doing that.
Yeah.
It's free. It's not going to cost you a thing, but maybe 10 seconds, and nobody is going to decline to do it. No, don't be afraid of that. They're not going to say no. They're going to say, why, sure. You get your oil
It's really
changed.
sad that we've gotten to that point. I mean, it used to be that you could do a handshake with somebody and
Absolutely.
have a discussion with them if there was an issue, if there was a problem with a job, and work it out with them.
But Ginny, the last time you got your oil changed, you had to sign a little piece of paper acknowledging that it happened. Anything that you get done anymore, you go to the pharmacy, you got to sign something. You got to, and that's
you're right. Yeah.
They don't care about quality control. They want to prevent anybody disputing the charge.
Right.
That's why. So as a
even if it's a little scribble, like an X.
That's correct. If they signed it, then they read it.
Yep. Yeah. And even on the internet, I will also point out the pages and pages that people click, yes, I agree to terms and conditions here. And you're not going to read all that stuff.
Nope. No. And so you should ask some questions. If what does that say? What does that mean?
Yeah.
But if you have their signature on file and you have a contract, they're probably not going to dispute the charge in the first place, because they know, A, that you did what you said you were going to do, and B, that they did actually agree to pay you for this,
Yeah.
and they have no legs to stand on. So then you take that copy of that document, you send it to the payment processor, who will then send it to the financial institution. And in 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes 2 or 3 months,
Yeah.
they will get back to you. 2 or 3
Yeah.
months, more likely. They will get back to you. You won't get the $25 service charge refunded. You're out that. You're never going to see that again. But you will get back the money that they took out of your account. I don't care if your payment processor is Stripe, Authorized Net, PayPal. I don't care who it is.
Well, here's a question then, Phil. Should you go to a lawyer to have that contract written up?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Go nuts. Spend $200-300 to buy an hour's time with an attorney. And oh, yeah, because you want it to be ironclad. You don't want it to be, authoritarian in nature. You want the transaction to be friendly, but you want to make sure that you're covered, because I'm telling you what, I've seen people get wiped out over a course of a weekend.
Wow.
I know a gal who was in a similar business to mine, and she charged much, much more than we do, but didn't have as many clients. So I guess it all balanced out. And this client, just for whatever reason, well, I'll tell you what it was. The client started having financial problems and tried to find some way to get money. And somebody said, well, you could dispute all of these charges. And these were, $10,000, $12,000 charges a pop, several of them.
Yeah.
So when this gal closes her shop on Friday afternoon, she's fine. She wakes up Monday morning and she's down $150,000.
Ouch.
PayPal is the worst. I'm just going to tell you straight up. They are the least sympathetic to the seller. Stripe is the most sympathetic to the seller. We haven't had a charge back in, it's at least 4 years, maybe 4.5 years. And it's because we do everything I just said.
Uh-huh.
And, if you talk to your customer on a pretty regular basis, you talk maybe every couple, 3 weeks, it's very hard for that person.
Yeah. That's the main thing. Keep that relationship open in order to make sure that you're understanding them, you're doing it right. My question is, the hard part would be for coaches, life coaches.
Mm-hmm.
How can they survive? And, what if someone says, well, I didn't get what I wanted? Isn't that hard to dispute?
Yeah. How do you prove a negative, Okay. So I have a friend named Bob who is a business coach. Sometimes people tell him he's a life coach, but he thinks of himself as a business coach. And this is what Bob says. He says, because people will say, can you give me a guarantee?
Yeah.
Well, in
How
the
can
coaching
you?
business, what does that even mean, right? In the coaching business.
Yeah. Yeah.
What Bob says is, I guarantee you that my programs work. I cannot guarantee that you will necessarily apply yourself adequately to reap all of the benefits of this program. But I know that they've worked for me and I've seen them work for other people. Does that answer your question? He says. Usually that pretty much puts an end to the conversation. Either the person continues to proceed, to sign, or not. But more often than not, they understand they're not dealing with a chump, and they actually want somebody like that to help them, somebody who cuts through the nonsense. And because that question is sort of nonsensical if you think about it.
Yeah.
Look, if I could guarantee you want me to guarantee you need certain qualities developed within you, and yet you're asking me to guarantee you that as you presently exist right now, that you're going to, no, nobody can do that.
Yeah.
It's not possible. What you can say is that these are the specific, you reframe the question. These are the things, again, that we're going to be doing over the next several weeks. This, and this. And they say, yeah, but can you guarantee? Well, these are the things that we're going to be doing.
Love
And
it.
we're going to do our best to elicit your buy-in on this.
Yeah. Well, we got way off track with this.
Sorry.
We got away from you. I apologize, but it is all fascinating. These are all things that small business people have to be concerned with. And let's bring it back to you and wrap it up with telling us, what would you like to tell our audience about you and your business and how they should contact you? And I highly recommend, Phil, do have to tell you that I am working with him and I am ecstatic. I love what we are building together. So easy to work with. I can email him or call him, and Phil is who I get. I mean, I don't get this voicemail and no return to my answer. If I send him a question, I love it. You're great and easy to work with. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'll let you wrap it up and give your pointers.
All right. Well, I'm going to give the pointers first, if that's okay.
Yes.
I'll be brief. Even if it's your first day on the job, act like you've been doing it for 10 years and don't take any customer you don't want to work with. It's a mistake and you'll regret it. You want clients like Ginny. You want clients who have a vitality, who have focus, who have creativity, who want something, who have passion and aren't afraid to pick up the phone and call. Those are the clients you want. When you see that name come on your telephone, your feeling shouldn't be, gee, I wish I was dead right now. Your feeling should be, I am so glad I was just thinking about her and I had this idea. I hope she's got time to hear it. And that is what makes, it's not about how much money you bring into start out a company with. It's about none of that. It has nothing to do with it whatsoever. What it has to do with is, how are you doing this just because you think it's going to be a fast buck, or are you doing this because you have found something about the nature of your enterprise that makes you feel so excited to be alive that you just have to radiate that with other people that you see without being obnoxious about it, but the money will come. The money should not be the goal. What we do, our website, which has a lot of information on it, like what we've discussed already, we charge as much as the guys do in certain places, but nobody has more fun working here than our folks. And anyway, did I answer your question or no? I'm not sure I did.
Love it. And can people get in touch with you through LinkedIn, or is there a better way that you would prefer to have people get in touch with you?
I love the contacts that I get from LinkedIn. So I should caution you, there is another Phil Mershon out there. Very nice fellow. He's even in a similar business, not quite the same, but a similar business to me, but he's a different guy. He's a wonderful guy, but he plays the saxophone and he's in, I think, Sarasota, Florida.
Oh,
you could take a picture of him and here, you're never going to confuse the two of us. He's a different guy. Much better looking fella and very, very smart guy. And you probably do well to do business with him, but if you want to do business with us,
which is why we are here, Phil.
Which is why we're here, after all, not for the other guy. It's the name of the business is Return on Initiative, which we called it that because there was everybody and his mother was talking about ROI at the time and return on investment. And well, there's no investment; it's hardly anything at all. But if they have the right initiative, then we can make a go of it, and that's why we came up with that name, and that's why it's stuck.
I love it. And that's where I think in the back of my mind, when I was introducing you, I was going, return on investment. Oh, no. It's not that. It's, oh, yes. Return on. See, I can't even think of it now. Initiative.
Yeah. I had somebody tell me on the phone once in the early days. She said, well, I coach my clients not to name their companies with words that nobody can spell. Yeah, I just, I'm not going to fight that. She's right.
Yeah. So did she end up being your customer or?
No, I would love to be able to say she did, but no, she threw me off my game and I forgot what I was going to say. And I ended up just, okay, sorry, I bothered you. That was in the early, terrifying days.
Oh, I remember some terrifying days too. They are funny to look back at and you wonder how you survived, but I think it makes you a stronger person.
I do too. I mean, you come to appreciate the things that are of true value in life, family and friendships, and what kind of world that you are in the process of creating yourself, and what's going to be left, when you're no longer around to take it in. And you'd like to think that maybe you make the world just a little bit better than when you arrived.
Yes, definitely. And that's why we're in business. Thank you, Phil, so much for coming on. I absolutely love doing this with you and all the great information that you shared. What a hoot you are.
You are, if I were to ever to describe the ideal client, you get asked that, can you tell me about your ideal client? I would have a hard time finding somebody better than you.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, thank you. And I hope people reach out to you, comment, like, subscribe, and Phil will get right back to you, as I said. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Jenny.